Okay, Dookie Royale.
Chicken Royale's in
Eon.
here.
Royale is in here. And we got Eon K. Grissom is myself. And this week we're going to change it up a little bit, guys. This week we're going to discuss unsolved mysteries,
Weird happenings.
weird happenings, strange things we've come across that we find intriguing and mysterious. And in many ways, I almost prefer a good mystery to something with an actual provable answer. Kind of takes the fun out of it.
So it's events with mysterious circumstances, right?
Oh yeah, yeah. I mean, these are weird. Yeah, you had weird coincidences. You got weird, just circumstances.
Like murders that didn't get solved under conventionals, or not. They might not be even solved at all. They're just
Right.
unsolved, like mysterious murders.
Just bizarre. So I guess the first one we're going to bring up here. This is one I've known about for a while, and it's even if it's not real, it's just even if it's just mythology. It's a cool story. It comes from the 12th century. It's called the Green Children of Woolpit. And
Man,
Woolpit is what's
yeah,
that?
I was reading that before the show, and it's pretty awesome. It's a pretty crazy story. Go ahead.
Yeah, so the Green Children are well, Woolpit is a town in England, and these two children just appear. Now, there's two accounts of it that are written. Um, you got this guy William and Ralph, and their accounts are pretty similar. These two children of unusual skin color, which is green. They get strange clothing that doesn't look like our clothing, and they speak a strange language that we don't recognize at all. And they won't eat any food except when they finally see some like raw beans. They love raw beans, which is very strange.
I mean, it gives credibility to the story. Is like one of the two people that found these green children. Like one of the guys' named is Ralph. He was like a sister. What do you call this? Cistercian monastery. Oh, that's where it was. He was like a member of or was an abbot of the monastery. So he's like, he's not likely to lie, right?
Oh yeah, total truth sayer. We'll just assume it. Yeah, he was telling the truth. Now the children got baptized by these town folk. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Soon after that, the boy gets sick and he was younger than the girl, and they were siblings. Now the girl adjusted to her new way of life, and then she was actually considered to become quite loose and wanton in her conduct.
Ooh, nice.
Yeah, so she started partying, mingling.
Goosey.
Yeah, and apparently I even had offspring, and they say to this day in that town that there's some of those green children blood in the town. Now there's many theories on, of course, what the heck this is going on here with the green children, because some people say that they're kind of a strange subspecies of human that had wandered up from a path out of the inside of the earth. Both the children say that they were like herding their father's cattle, and now one of the accounts states that they followed the sound of bells and then appeared in this town and got very confused. The other account is like that they heard a bang, and then all of a sudden they just were in this town, just completely. Almost like the Al Bielek stuff, where it's like a portal just takes you to some other dimension. Other interdimensional concepts.
Like a Martian. It's kind of like a Martian.
Yeah, and Martians are thought to be green.
Martians, yeah. Like I think the original story of the original Martian story was like they're green people. But what about like in Ireland they have this stories of like little green people, right?
We dare not go hunting. Or no, that's for fear of wee men. Is it green men or wee men? Green people's creepy.
So I mean, that's not too far away. I mean, England is like just across a little strait from Ireland, exactly. Scotland.
Now, what's weird is that they didn't they didn't want any of our food except for the raw beans. So that's another possible explanation for why their skin was green. They were from a whole different diet of different types of foods and or malnourished by our standards. Some say a possible like arsenic poisoning that they had. Just different theories on why the skin was green. Now you
But
get the whole like
you can't eat raw beans. Don't digest in normal humans' bodies.
Right, but then
they have to be cooked.
Yeah, but then they started getting used to the bean or the regular food, and they adjusted to it as if they were. And I mean, I think they
gotcha.
She even had kids, so they were like human,
Yeah.
So anyway, that's the green children.
So they could come from the center of the Earth, like the inner Earth theory, right?
Yeah, or some people think like shifted dimensions. There was a whole theory I read about where, I mean, they think there's maybe like another planet that's it's almost like the Planet X theory, where somehow they shifted a portal through to our planet. I mean, I was reading some ridiculous discussions on.
Yeah, I mean they could have been like testing back in when we had the Philadelphia experiment, and we talked about that in earlier podcasts where they were just testing stuff and people were just disappearing and coming back. What if they just disappeared? They were doing some testing in some other dimension. They just disappeared and reappeared in ours. They were like, "Oh, somebody will come save us soon, so we'll just eat your beans for a little while. We'll just wait for them to come get us once they figure it out."
Yeah, exactly. Many, or of course, other people say this is just an ancient, this is basically an ancient mythology, just like a fairy tale.
This is true.
And even at that, it's pretty cute, little green children.
Yeah, I mean, it's just like the people from the church are saying, and the other guy, William Newberg, was like a reporter or something, writer, I think is what he was. So they were credible people. I think that's why the story is probably kept going for so long. I mean, we're talking in the 1100s, and we're like 2015, and we're
right.
Still
and at this point, I mean, at this point, there's just no evidence to go by, So you just got these two accounts of it, and that's that. Now,
look that up if you are interested. It's called Green Children of Woolpit. Woolpit.
Yeah, apparently Woolpit means like wolf pit, and they had like these pits of wolves. So I don't know what that means, but the children were found near the pits of the wolves in Woolpit. Now, the next story is a doozy, and we're debating on making it an entire episode because it's so creepy and interesting and bizarre, and
it's pretty wild. We have to skim over it a little bit because it is so detailed. Like if you go online and start reading or watching YouTube videos about it, and it's pretty in depth.
Yeah, and it just popped into my head actually that I think I heard they were making a movie out of it, like a horror movie.
What story are we talking about here?
Oh yeah, so we're talking about the death of Elisa Lam. This was headline news back in
13, yeah, 2013.
Okay, 2013. Yeah, it's pretty recent. Completely mysterious. Well, not completely mysterious, but basically, this lady, she's a Canadian, Asian girl from Canada. She comes down to L.A. as a tourist. She was known to be bipolar and what else? Manic depressive.
Yeah, exactly. And she had like 5 different medications she had been prescribed at some time in her medical history.
Yeah, she had a Tumblr blog where I think there was some weird stuff going on. I think it's still posted. Actually, you can track down her Tumblr blog.
Yeah, that's right. It is still active.
Yeah. So the weird thing about her is that she gets found on the roof of the Cecil Hotel in downtown Los Angeles. They have these big water tanks, and at the top of the water tank is like this little hatch, 16-inch wide hatch that you open. And so people staying at the hotel start complaining that the water tastes weird and has a weird color.
Ooh.
So they go up there and they open the tank, and she had been missing for 2 weeks. Completely mysteriously missing. So they find her body in there. 2 weeks it's been just floating in the water tank. Tap water. So there's also a video, security video from the elevator just before She's assumed to have gone up on the roof and gotten it, and somehow gotten into the water tank. And it's a very, I mean, you can look it up on YouTube. It's creepy. It's quite a few minutes long.
Creepy. It's crazy wild too. Like, there was something weird about the video that me and you were talking about, Eon, before. Like, she was in the elevator pressing all the buttons, and the door just stayed open. Like, you know, when you come into an elevator and you press the button, it shuts and you go up to your floor. She walks in, she presses all the buttons, and you can see it clearly. It's not like it's a fuzzy video or anything. It's a 2013 like high definition video.
Yeah. She pushes all the buttons on the elevator.
Not pressing the emergency button. She's not like
at first she pushes a couple. At first she goes in there and she like pushes a couple. She keeps going like in and out of the elevator. She's like she's talking to somebody that you can't see.
Then she's like ushering in people.
This weird stuff with her hands out in the hallway. Then she like goes in the elevator and hides. Like you can't tell if she's scared and hiding or if she's like playful, like it's hide and go seek. Yeah, right. And then she pushes all the buttons on the elevator.
And then the doors still don't close. The doors all the whole time don't move or do anything.
Right.
So
clearly it's a poltergeist.
I think so. That's what I'm thinking. I'm thinking either she's possessed or it's like a ghost haunt type of poltergeist thing. But yes. As soon as she walks out of the elevator for the last time, the doors close and the elevator goes up.
Doors close, elevator. You don't see any more video after that. You can only hypothesize. I mean, your mind just starts going wild trying to picture what happened.
It's ridiculous.
What's going on here?
It's like, I have to get upstairs to do something. And she goes in the elevator and it won't move. And then she presses all the buttons. And so she probably takes the stairs at that point and ends up on the top floor instead of the floor she was looking for.
Yep. And now I think the door to the roof was locked, and so was the water tank.
Oh, the door was alarmed as well. Like if you hit the door, the alarm is supposed to go off. So it's locked and alarmed.
Yep. I kind of get like a vibe from like The Shining, the hotel from The Shining. This place got torn down actually because it was really old. What's really weird and kind of creepy about it too is that it was really old and really ghetto. But when you went into the lobby, it had been totally redone. It was like tip-top condition, like you'd think you were staying in a 5-star hotel. And
did we mention the name of the hotel? The Hotel Cecil.
Yeah, Hotel Cecil in downtown LA. Now, I've been to downtown LA a few times, and I've had some creepy vibes from that town. You know, I don't know. I get like this weird kind of, you know, if poltergeists do exist, then this would be one of those possible situations, because this hotel has been around for a long time, and there's a lot of other weird stories pertaining to the hotel. I mean, for a while I got obsessed with this story, and I was reading through, like, I was going on like, you know, Travelocity and Expedia and reading through and TripAdvisor and reading people's reviews they had left of the hotel, just trying to find any, you know, extra little tidbits of information.
You're looking for like ghost stories as well? Like,
yeah, just anything that was just anything I could find, you know, that just gave me more information about it. Yeah, possible ghost stories or, so the Black Dahlia murder, the girl from that story that happened in 1947, and that's a mysterious story as well. She had stayed there the night before.
That's right.
Also, his name's escaping me. Hold on, I'm going to look it up.
What are you looking for? It's the serial killers?
Okay, yeah, Richard Ramirez. He was a serial killer that claimed that that Satan, he was a Satanist, and Satan was telling him to murder these people. And you can look up interviews with that guy, man, and he's just evil.
Yeah, another
he's
serial
real happy
killer
about his murders.
Another serial killer that supposedly lingers at the hotel is called Jack Unterweger, but I'm not sure who that is. I haven't. I saw his name.
I believe I ran across that guy. I think he's a lesser serial killer. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm, yeah.
On the totem pole of great serial killers, he's not so high up there. Yeah, he was an Australian guy who killed prostitutes. So, you know.
Yeah.
He had narcissistic personality disorder. Now, so Elisa Lam. What else is strange about that?
So if there was going to be a possession, you would think that this place is ripe for possession, right? It's got
Oh,
the
this
serial
place
killer deaths. It's got all
oh,
the bodies of these people that have, there's another lady that was the pigeon lady of Pershing Square was killed there.
yeah,
Lots of
a
stuff
lot
has
of
happened
people have
there.
gone there to commit suicide.
Yeah, well, somebody jumped off the building at the Cecil Hotel and landed on another person
Yes,
while they were trying to kill themselves. What
man.
the hell? Like, what? How unfortunate do you have to be?
I heard a lot of things about like people checking into the place and like at first being real impressed and then quickly get into the room and just being like totally sketched out and just leaving. Like they didn't check out. They didn't want their money back. They're like, no, I'm out. Just bad vibe.
I wonder if there's a ghost, like a ghost hunters type episode of anybody looking at the Hotel Cecil. You know what I mean? Like Ghost Adventures, one of those TV
Yeah,
shows.
that's a good question. Yeah, that'd be a really interesting.
All right, this is your assignment, listeners. Go out and look and see if there's any.
Unfortunately, you can't go and research it yourself because they tore it down.
Boo.
Yeah, and unfortunately, like this was major headline news. This story was, but they tore it down like just before I found out about the story, so it was too late. Of course, I lived in LA and I had all the time in the world to go check it out when I was out there. But what are you going to do?
What are you going to do?
Now, the other okay, so there's a whole other weird angle on this that I came across, and this is all internet conspiracy theory. So there's this other thing going on where there's this strain of tuberculosis called Lam Elisa, and it's said to have been like given to like really poor people that are like a couple blocks away. And
from the Cecil Hotel,
not well, no, like a couple blocks. A couple blocks down the street from the Cecil Hotel, and it was like given to these people against their will, secretly. And basically, there's this theory that Elisa Lam actually didn't even really exist; that she was completely made up as a distraction away from this other terrible thing that was going on. To distract people, and it's in the name switch thing is the whole.
Yeah,
it's kind of people believe in the Illuminati. Well, they would say the Illuminati would switch the word to make it like obvious that it's a big scam, but they call that hidden in plain sight. So that's a whole weird Illuminati internet conspiracy theory that I can't document it any more than that.
Well, it goes a lot deep. I mean, the stuff that we were talking about of the whole thing is, I mean, there's so many small building circumstances that go with that. Like from the autopsy, there's no toxicology. Like the toxicology, nothing was there. No prescription drugs that she would have was prescribed. The discovery of the body, the unsolved, just a whole bunch of stuff. But what I was just looking at while you were talking was in film and television section of a article, and it looks like that her story is being sold for movies and TV shows all over the place in Hong Kong and the United States and China.
Yeah, I had read that. I read it's really controversial to make a movie or a TV show about this because it was so fresh, but
right.
Totally makes for an interesting. I mean,
the story's deep. Yeah.
It could be done really bad and be a cheesy horror movie, which is probably what'll happen, but it could be really good. I think it'd almost be better like documentary.
It was a series. It was an episode called Watershed on the ABC series Castle, which is the season. It was the season finale in May 2013. So they made it real quick. Like she died in like February of 2013, and they had an episode in May 2013.
Oh, okay. Now there's this other weird thing in this movie from 2005.
Yeah.
And sorry, I don't have it written here. It just popped into my head. There's like a movie where some girl goes up onto a hotel and goes in and like kills herself in a water tank, like this Asian girl.
That's kind of wild.
Yeah.
That's kind of like those rappers that came out with the World Trade Center bombings, like a picture of the World Trade Center, and they were like pushing down on the box to
Yeah.
explode the World Trade Centers, and like that came out like 3 months before the World Trade Centers actually got hit by the planes, and the where they exploded was the exact floors that the planes hit, which was kind of strange. So it could have been a coincidence, but then when you look at the picture and you're like, wait, that hit the same spot as the as the planes hit, then you're like,
Yeah,
this is
it's kind
it's
of weird, man.
a little bit more specific.
There's also this thing where and I can't seem to find it now. I remember I used to be able to pull it up all the time, and I think it was from the movie Departed. Like, there's just this random scene where there's this paper type like pinned to the wall, and it says something about it seems to be referring to Elisa Lam.
Huh. So these are just things people need to go and research and take a look at, because the story is pretty awesome. Not that she died or anything, but all the stuff that people have uncovered and researched into and found out about. Because this is just could have been just a regular person, and they just she found she died. Maybe they nobody investigated the people that jumped off the building, but this girl, was found in a water tank, and it was kind of strange. And then they start looking into the backstory, and they find all this stuff. And then the video surveillance camera comes out, and people are just puzzled. And the journalist war starts. Who can get the best information?
Yeah, exactly. That's what a lot of it is. I'm sure a lot of it's been, sensationalized. You hope not too much. So anyway, that's the mystery of the death of Elisa Lam.
Right. Last name is spelled Lam for you
Lam.
listeners that want to go check it out.
It's all out there. There's actually a couple good YouTube videos where they go into more detail and cover some of the things that I'm just going brain dead on right now. So let's see. What's our next mystery here? Oh, no. Actually, we have our new section, and it's called What is Kevin... Mr. Eon. Oh, by the way, K stands for Kevin, just so you guys want to know that.
Eon K. Grissom.
We've referenced it before. Yeah, it's Kevin. So, what is Eon K. Grissom drinking tonight? Tonight, he is drinking Old Chub Scotch Ale from Oscar Blues Brewery in Brevard, North Carolina. And it is a delicious brew, very smooth, rich.
I'm not a beer connoisseur.
8% alcohol by volume. It's like a smooth, rich, hoppy ale, Scotch ale.
It's hoppy. Is it hoppy?
Cheers. It's not, no, I don't like hoppy beers too much, but I like the kind of smooth, rich hop stuff. Okay.
I just walked into a bar and I would say I want a Bass Ale. That's all I did.
Oh, well, that's actually the first beer I really got into. And I still like it today. Yeah, I could sit down and enjoy a Bass all night long.
That was my fave back in the day.
You can do a black and tan too. Mix the Bass with the Guinness, make it real smooth.
Ugh.
Oh yeah, that's good.
I've had a smell of dark beer, and I'm just like, I'm not even gonna taste it.
It's kind of like in the dark, like coffee realm of flavor.
I'm just no.
You're not a dark coffee guy either.
No, I won't do that.
Yeah, I like some rich espresso roast with a little sweetener and cream. Okay, so back to the mystery.
That concludes. What is Kevin drinking today?
What is Eon K. Grissom drinking today? So the next topic up is D.B. Cooper.
Yeah.
And this one's a little less obscure.
Pretty famous.
Pretty famous actually. It's like a legitimate, known History Channel show you might see. Dookie Royale, you want to tell our listeners about D.B. Cooper?
I know D.B. Cooper. D.B. Cooper, I think, robbed a bank, right?
No, he didn't rob a bank. He hijacked a plane.
Oh. What am I thinking of? Oh, yeah, and he wanted $200,000 in ransom.
Yeah, so he checks into this plane and says his name is D.B. Cooper.
Yeah.
Yeah. He sits down. He gives the stewardess I think that's an incorrect term. I think now it's called flight attendant. He gives the flight attendant a note, and she at first doesn't. She thinks it's like some kind of love letter or something. And then he goes, "Ma'am, I think you probably want to read that note." And she opens it up, and it says, "I got a bomb. Do whatever I say, or I'm going to blow the whole plane up." And then he opens the bag and shows her all these like wires, and it just looks like a bomb in there. So he tells him he wants them to land the plane in Seattle. He wants like 4 parachutes, and he wants $200,000 cash in 20s, unmarked 20s with random serial numbers. He doesn't want sequential serial numbers. So it's crazy. So and apparently this guy's extremely polite.
It's worse than crazy. It's like super ballsy, like
super ballsy. But he's like a
1971. I mean, it's not like it's 42 or anything.
Right, 1971, and the guy is super friendly and awesome and nice. Like everybody likes him. He's just very polite. So they land the plane in Seattle. And apparently the guy, he knew a lot of like airline technology or verbiage. Like he knew the words to use to tell him how to land. He understood the way the plane worked and everything. He's very familiar with all that technology. They land the plane in Seattle. They let all of the people off the plane very safely, and he wanted to make sure nobody got hurt. They take off with a few, the pilots or whatever. They give him the cash, give him the $200,000. So they get up to a certain height out in the middle of the woods up there in the Pacific Northwest, and
yeah, but it was like a height that they didn't think he could survive from.
Oh, it was crazy high, man. What was it like 40,000 feet or something? And it was like midwinter.
It was unbelievable. Let's see. Yeah. I mean, but yeah, he jumped. Yeah, exactly. It was super cold. Like nobody's gonna survive that jump. Apparently.
No, it's very unlikely. He's in his 40s. All he has on is like a business suit. So he jumps out of the plane with the money. Before he jumps out of the plane, he's like super like thankful for everybody. Was very, worked very smoothly with him. He gives everybody $2,000 cash, and then he just jumps out of the plane, man, with the money strapped to his torso, and he's never to be seen again. And then around 1980, like some of the money kind of showed up in a river, and they could match up the serial numbers. So some say he died. He landed in the woods or in the river. It's just never turned up. It's such a vast just area of just rugged woods and wilderness.
Yeah, back then, right?
Yeah, even today. I mean, it's just a huge area, and
yeah,
they don't even know where he jumped out. It's crazy.
I happened to like get stuck in some weird. I was flying from Atlanta to Oregon on a training trip that I was going on, and I ended up. We had to go into Denver. I get to Denver, and the plane had already left us, and so they just reschedule us on another plane, and we fly. We were supposed to go from Denver to Portland, Oregon, and we fly to Seattle first, and then so I get to Seattle, and they're like, "Well, the plane we're going to put you on is already left, so we're going to put you on this private plane. I hope you don't mind, sir." But we flew Seattle to Oregon, Portland, Oregon, the same trip, but I did in a private plane, which only flies at lower than 20,000 feet. They don't go up as high as 30 like the Boeings and stuff like that. The commercial jets do. And dude, we flew like in between the volcanic mountains, and it seemed like we were just barely over them. And all I saw was forest. I don't remember even seeing roads, but I'm sure they were there.
Yeah, that's Sasquatch territory, man.
Yeah,
It's just got miles and miles of just open, rugged wilderness. So the great mystery is, who is this DB Cooper? Yeah, I mean, did he survive? Because I saw this other show where there was actually this guy that they thought was him, who was actually dead now, but had lived in this little cabin out there, and somebody apparently saw all the cash, and that's possible too. Yeah.
They have a composite drawing of DB Cooper online that you can look at, and he looks like a total normal dude.
He's just a generic white guy.
It actually looks like an actor that I can't place.
Maybe like Kevin Spacey or something.
Maybe a young Kevin Spacey. But
Maybe.
you never know it because like the real identifiers are eyes and smiles. Like people really can identify smiles, like teeth and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So if he was smiling in his picture,
that's true. And I mean, this is just based on what somebody just described him to look like, which is like, well, he was a white, thin guy. Like
you said, there was 3 people in the plane that saw his face, right?
I mean, everybody saw him. You know, everybody. He was just a guy in a suit, just a white guy in a suit that nobody didn't know he was a fake name.
Can you imagine like how many?
They didn't have the cameras back then, I guess.
Like when an event happens and you interview like 30 people, like how different the stories are between those 30 people. Yeah. Can you imagine like 65 people on a plane and saying, okay, what did the guy look like? And he had a scar under his right eye. I didn't see a scar under his right eye. I saw it like half of his ear was gone, and you know, all kinds of stuff that people see that who knows what happened. So who knows if this image of D.B. Cooper is even accurate, you know? He's probably lucky because people described him in 55 different ways.
Yeah, exactly. So, you know, it's probably never going to get solved, or it may. Maybe they'll find something that'll open up some. Like they found. I think they found Amelia Earhart. You know, her wreckage.
No, really?
Yeah, they think they did, and they think that they had evidence that she actually had survived the crash and possibly lived out the rest of her life just as, like, you know, just stranded on an island. I think they saw like evidence of like campfires and stuff. Like,
wow.
You have to look that up though. Sometimes though, I'll say I dream things, and I can't remember if it was a dream or if it really happened. So.
Yeah, that's true. But then Amelia Earhart, they had like some radio transmissions, I think, when she disappeared, and she was saying stuff like, "How do I get out of here?" You know, like from a plane. I think that might be a rumor, but I'm not sure if that was proven or anything like that. But yeah, Bermuda Triangle, right?
Bermuda Triangle. Okay, so the next strange mystery is this one's kind of just it's not even a mystery. It's just something kind of silly that happened in 1987. They were showing Doctor Who on PBS, Public Broadcasting Network, PBS, Public Broadcasting System, and somebody hijacked the signal, and they had a Max Headroom mask on, and they were just saying like random stupid stuff and.
Max Headroom.
Headroom. Max.
Gotta say it correct.
Headroom. Yeah, and I think they were doing like the Pepsi can, but it was just stupid. It's not really. It doesn't go down as like an amazing mystery. It's just something weird that's never really going to be solvable. Somebody pulled it off. There's been other times where people have hijacked the TV signal, you know, for however long. I think I've heard it on morning radio even, where people have hijacked the signal for a couple minutes for the network shuts it down. And I saw it on like Monday Night Football one night too. These two guys were just sitting there on a couch and they were like, "We're on TV." And then it just went back to the football game or something. And I was like, what the heck? And I think I saw it on the news. They reported that had happened, you know.
That's awesome. Man,
yeah.
That'd be cool to be able to do that.
Yeah. I mean, just hackers, you know. Hacking that signal.
I have a buddy that's really into shortwave radio.
Yeah.
And at this point, almost nobody uses it. It's like the beginnings of the internet in the early 90s. But, or maybe even the 80s. But man, you hear the craziest stuff on there. There's like he was telling me a story about how this guy, this like Russian dude, has this signal that goes out all the time. And it's just like weird tweaks. It's just like it just does like that all the time. And then every once in a while, out of the middle of nowhere, he'll come over the radio, and people record his station 24 hours a day to wait until he comes on the radio and says something. and he says like maybe 10 or 12 random words, like a parable. Or riddle or something.
Yeah, it seems like I've read about this. Yeah,
and then he goes away, and then he doesn't come back for like months and months at a time.
Yeah, I did. I have stumbled upon this thing you're talking about, and it's just like, what the heck? Who is this, and why is he doing it?
Yeah, and the people have tried to decode it, and I don't know if anybody's ever come up with anything from any of his transmissions.
Now,
So they think it's like a Russian, like it's like a what do you call that when you do like where you do like the dots and dashes.
Morse
Morse
code.
code. Yeah, he does Morse code right before he says something. And
Right. Okay. I did read that. Yep.
So that's kind of weird, right? That's a mysterious circumstance.
Oh, it's totally weird, man. This story actually about the taking over the signals, airwave signals. It's also part of a documentary I read or I watched. It used to be on YouTube, but it was called Resurrect Dead, and it's like the mystery of the Toynbee tiles. And just the name Toynbee tiles is weird, but if you see the documentary, it'll make sense as to what I'm talking about. I know, Dookie, I've been telling you to check it out, so one of these days you'll watch it, and we'll probably do an episode about the mystery of the Toynbee tiles.
All right.
So our listeners, go ahead and check that out, and then be hip.
I'll be looking at that. Excited to check that out.
It's a bizarre mystery. It's basically like this thing that nobody should have ever really known about, but this one guy got obsessed with it, and he had to figure it out, and he ends up figuring out a lot about it and making a whole documentary. So let's see, what do we got? What do we got next on the mystery week of the Q&A podcast?
I think we're looking at mysterious hums that you told me about.
Ah, yes. The mysterious hums. Let me see, I'm trying to look up. Well, hold on just a minute to our listeners. I'm sorry about this. There's a town in New Mexico called Taos, New Mexico, and it's known for having a mysterious hum. Now, it's not just in that town in Taos, but that somehow it happened there, and it got really kind of a lot of media about it. But there's also another one in like Bristol, England, called the Bristol hum, but it's been reported widespread all over the world. It's an evasive, low-frequency humming, rumbling, or droning noise that's not audible to everybody. But like the people who can hear it, I mean, it's just like nonstop, and it's like just makes them crazy. You can't even record it with like any audio gear.
Which makes you think it's like internal to the head, but
right.
There's like some kind of disease that you can have that causes auditory hallucinations. But doctors, whoever these people get the hum, they can't find that specific, problem, their disease, or I can't remember what the disease is called, but
yeah, I mean, there could be some biological answers.
The disease itself is rare.
Theories.
Yeah.
Let's see. It was apparently there was one in Indiana. They were actually able to trace it to a cooling tower.
Whoa.
In the local area, and they were able to turn it off. So it's almost like they might be just legitimate sounds that are somehow reverberating, and they're just really hard to trace the source of. I've noticed that
Or what if certain people can hear better, lower frequencies or something?
Lower and higher, yeah. Because like there's times where I can hear, I hear like this, like a high pitch, like kind of like when it's super quiet, like a high pitch, like just whistly, like a it's weird. It's almost like it's.
Can I hear that one more time?
It's like but it's like it's almost like it's in my head more than it is. Yeah, like you said, in my head. I call it the silent screaming. Make it stop! The silent screams.
Well, I mean, it could be coming from HAARP.
Could be coming from HAARP, which is, of course, a potential a government project to like control weather and frequencies in our reality.
Now, Jesse
vortexes as well.
Jesse Ventura, who had a TV show on Spike TV, I think it was way back, maybe a couple of years ago.
Jesse Ventura, conspiracy theory.
That's a good impression there.
By Jesse Ventura. I've been practicing.
Oh, that's good, man. I gotta get good at that. He had an episode where people were hearing complete conversations in their head, and they could tell it wasn't them because of like the way it was talking and the words they were like the words that they didn't even know, and it was like kill yourself,
Ooh.
things like that. So he found 5 or 6 people. I don't even know. Maybe it could have been 2 people, but he found some people to interview on the show, and they were completely convinced it was HAARP or some kind of cell tower or conspiracy, planting thoughts in their heads to see what would happen, like an experiment.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
They gotta wonder if like the HAARP thing, maybe they're just sending out signals, into the ethos to see what will happen, and people are getting affected by it.
That's true. I mean, yeah, they're just playing with, seeing what happens. Let's see. Oh, there's also this thing that's actually been kind of documented, and I'm going to try to pronounce it. Autoacoustic emissions, and it's SOAE is the acronym. But it showed that 38 to 60% of adults with normal hearing have these sounds going on that their ears almost generated. It's like a faint buzzing or ringing, especially if it's completely silent, which is what I just described that I experienced. So apparently this is like a thing that I have. It just reminds me of this thing I found. This is me going on a tangent here, but there's this thing where they go and watch these weird videos that are made to try to trigger it, where people are like they're like whispering. People are whispering and talking about jewelry, and people they'll love to watch the Home Shopping Network, and they love to see this like real flashy jewelry and hear people talk about the jewelry, and it'll like trigger like part of their head to start tingling. And they love the way this tingle feels. It's called like TSLR. Hold on. TSLR.
Yeah, but it's like super. It's like that's like a recent phenomenon. Like there was some lady on a podcast I was listening to who got like super excited about when someone would just say like the word coincidences or something, like some weird.
Yeah,
word.
no, that's what you're talking about. Yeah. It's like okay, AMSR or sorry, ASMR.
Yeah, I've looked into that before. That's pretty wild that you mentioned that.
Yes, ASMR. Oh, I got obsessed with it for like 2 days.
Yeah, same here.
And I went and watched a lot of those videos, and none of them really triggered anything. They say, yeah, it's often a response to a visual, auditory, tactile, olfactory, or cognitive stimuli. People claim it happens. Now, what's weird is I watched a lot of these trying to trigger it in my own head. And like I said, like people whispering, people saying certain words. Some people really love it when the way a person talks, where like their mouth kind of makes like a moist clicky sound or something. Like it's real specific. And there's like people that are almost like famous in this ASMR world, where you can just go and they've got YouTube channel pages of just videos and videos and videos of them like whispering about this jewelry.
That's right.
They talk about how it looks on my finger and you can see it. And you're just like, what in the heck? Now, what I have noticed, and I can't figure out what triggers it, is ever since I heard the description of like the brain tingling, I actually do have that happen. Like I feel that I have this ASMR experience, but I've never noticed the consistency for like something that's always happening when I feel it. It's like it just kind of happens. So I'm assuming that's what they're describing.
Yeah, it was. So we heard. I'm pretty sure that me and you both heard this. It was a radio show done by This American Life on ASMR.
Oh wow, really? Oh, no, you know what? That's where I found out about it.
Yep, same here.
Actually. Yeah.
I remembered it while you were talking, and I went and looked it up, and turned out there it was.
Yep. That's exactly where I heard about it. This American Life, which is to our listeners, is a fantastic radio show made by NPR, National Public Radio, and also put into a podcast.
It's extremely popular. I think it's probably one of the most popular podcasts, radio shows out there.
I mean, as it should be. Yeah. Ari Glass, who's actually, I think, the nephew of Philip Glass, the classical conductor.
That's right.
who actually was interviewed by Mark Maron on the WTF podcast one week, and that was a good interview.
Ira Glass was?
Ira Glass, yep.
Wow.
I think I just said Ari, but yeah, I'm thinking of Ari Gold from Entourage. This was Ira, IRA Glass.
I didn't even hear the slip up. Yeah, Ira Glass. Yeah, I like Ira Glass, man.
You should go back into the Mark Maron archives.
I will.
Actually, you probably got to get it off. It might be on YouTube. The best Mark Maron, one of the classics, is where he interviews. Remember Gallagher?
Yeah, he's the one that smashes the watermelons and the pumpkins and all that stuff.
Now Gallagher's this old kind of bitter right wing washout comedian.
Yeah, that's right.
And Mark Maron's a super liberal, so he starts attacking his politics and stuff. And Gallagher goes crazy and just rips off, and he just ends the interview. It's the only interview Mark Maron ever did that's just, been cut short where the viewer or the guest storms out. It's a classic if you guys want to find it on YouTube. Mark Maron.
I have written that down. I'm going to listen to that tomorrow.
Yeah, that was one of the best ever. So yeah, that was the humming, the bizarre humming sound. So if you guys are experiencing that, you're not the only one. Maybe I'm sure there's a reason, an answer. Hopefully they can figure it out and relieve, or you're just gonna have to move away from that sound.
Yeah, I wonder how you deaden it. If it's happening 24/7 and you're can't figure it out.
First step is I would leave the area and see if it stays with me, and then that would verify that it's in my head and not in my area, and then I might contemplate moving if it's freaking bad enough.
I would get rid of it. I would get rid of it by playing the Insane Clown Posse Miracles song.
Freaking miracles. All of them.
What did you say? What do magnets do anyway?
Yeah, he's like, magnets. How do they work? Yeah, that song, man, I tell you, it's an internet classic.
I'd never seen that before. I don't know how I missed it.
It's really something. I mean, I'm a big fan of studying the ICP, the Insane Clown Posse, Juggalo culture. I like watching all the documentaries about that stuff.
Is the Insane Clown Posse, they just do crazy weird stuff like that all the time, or I don't know anything about them?
Oh man, you got okay. So there's a great documentary called American. Okay, so their fans are called the Juggalos, and there's a great little probably a 20-30 minute documentary called American Juggalo. Just watch that, and you will be like, oh my god, and you'll probably start clicking on other YouTube Juggalo video because other people go in there, like Vice, I think, has even gone there. They have this annual thing they call the Juggalo Gathering, which is basically like Coachella for Insane Clown Posse fans. And it's anything goes. I mean, it's like legal drugs and just fat, gross chicks with thongs and ugh. These people are they're serious white trash. I mean, it's a weird culture.
That's Juggalo with a J or a G?
Yeah, Juggalo with a J. It's like a way of saying the juggler. Because they have this. Juggalo. I mean, Insane Clown Posse. I mean, look, personally, I think I can't stand the music. I mean, I'm hearing it and I'm just like that song "Miracles" is actually mildly tolerable because it's not like their other music. Some of their music is just so bad. It sounds like drunken circus rap.
Maybe that's the point. Yeah, maybe it's so bad that you just
it's so bad that you either love it or hate it, and these people freaking love it. And what was I saying? Anyway, yeah. So it's I totally lost my train of thought there. I hate that, man.
I came in the Juggalos and I screwed you up. Sorry.
Juggalos. No, they have this gathering. Sorry. Yeah, I know what I was going to say. They have a whole mythology to their. They have a whole universe almost. You have the Marvel universe or the Star Wars universe.
Yeah.
It was like this Juggalo universe, and it has the story of good versus evil. It has all these characters. That are on these playing cards. There's a lot to it if you start digging into it.
Shit's funny.
No, at one point, they referenced in one of their songs that after their next album comes out, the world was going to end. So a lot of the people really thought that it was the end times, and the world was going to end. And then when the world didn't end, a lot of their fans kind of they kind of lost a lot of fans because it's almost like a weird cult religious type thing. They're like, this isn't real, man. They really weren't right about the end of the world. It's like, dude, they're like fat white trash people that wear, clown makeup and rap. Like, of course they don't know. I mean, come on. And then they're crazy with the interviews you see with them. I mean, Insane Clown Posse could be a whole episode in its own right.
I've written it down. I will go watch that after the podcast recording.
American Juggalo, yeah.
Yeah, I'll go watch it.
That's a good one. There's a new show, too, on Netflix I've been watching where these like Australian guys are just going around to random places and kind of documenting it. And they go to the Juggalo gathering in one of those.
Nice.
I don't have the name of that show right now.
Right.
But
I'll Google it. Netflix show.
Netflix. Now, the next strange mystery is called the Dyatlov Pass Incident. And
Dyatlov.
And so this is in 1959. There was 9 skiers went like hiking up in the northern, I guess it's Ural Mountains. Nothing really strange about where they're going or what they're doing. This is just pretty normal activity for them. But what happens is that they're found. The tents are like ripped open from the inside. 5 of them are frozen to death, and four of them were actually found 2 months later. They bore significant injuries, including fractured skulls and broken ribs. One of them was missing her tongue and eyes. The first set of bodies were lying there in what they had worn to bed, but then the other 4 were partially clothed in garments belonging to the others. When the clothing was tested, there was high levels of radiation found.
Well, the investigators determined that their tents had been torn from the inside out.
Yeah.
So it wasn't that something was attacking them from within.
Right.
Not from outside like a bear or anything like that.
Right. They busted out, and they didn't go out the door either. They ripped out the side of the tent.
And their bodies also showed no signs of struggle under the autopsy.
Yeah. Now, yeah, and 2 of them were found 2 months later, like further away.
Right.
Which is weird too. So then these other campers that were like 50 kilometers away stated that they had seen these orange spheres like flying around over where they were at. And so there's all these theories about what that was. Was it aliens? Was it some sort of government weapons testing? Was it a strange, freakish lightning strike? I mean, what was it? What happened to these campers?
Sounds like the typical story of a cattle mutilation, where there's like orange globes hanging over, and
right,
the cows are fine in 1 second, the next minute all the blood's drained, and they're missing their eyeballs and their tongue.
Yeah, and just some sort of weird random body part.
I think that's the connecting thing, though, is that both of them, like they're missing their eyeballs and tongue, like there's precision cut.
Yeah.
The autopsy also just determined that an unknown compelling force caused the deaths of the original 7. But if you look at where Dyatlov Pass is in Russia, holy shit!
Yeah,
that is way up there. It's like in the Arctic Circle in Russia.
Whew.
Like, I don't even know what that area would be called. I mean, that's
pretty remote.
Siberia is like eastern Russia, northern, and this is like, God, man, that's pretty far out there. This is like way north of Europe, like almost Greenland territory. I think I can see. Yeah, it's like where Iceland and Greenland kind of habituate. But you're looking at a flat map, and it's not like a rounded globe. But it's way up there, man. Holy cow. But they closed that area for 3 years after the incident happened. And
wow.
That's why they have a lot of theories about what could have happened. But
there's evidence, yeah.
There's some really good pictures because it didn't happen too long ago. It wasn't like 1930s or anything. This is 1959. There's some good black and white photos of the people that were found.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Yeah.
Huh, I didn't see any of those. See if I can see some of those right quick. Okay, so anything else strange about that? I mean, obviously these theories that people have come up with are, it's hard to prove anything. They're just theories.
Examination of the 4 bodies were found in May shifted the narrative as to what occurred during the incident. 3 of the ski hikers had fatal injuries.
So there's a movie. There's a movie about this.
Really? What's it called?
Yeah. It looks like it's a Russian movie that like the Dyatlov Pass incident.
Huh. Well, I definitely have to check that out.
Yeah, man. Good old Hollywood. Hollywood's already on top of this, man.
That's funny. Russian. I mean, this is like a Russian story. Like, what are we doing making movies about a Russian story? An obscure Russian story.
Money. Yeah, it is available. All right. So that's something to watch. The Dyatlov Pass incident.
Okay, 6 of the group. Movie. I just wanted. There's the journalist reporting on the available parts of the inquest files claim that it states that 6 of the group members died of hypothermia and 3 of fatal injuries. There were no indications of other people nearby. The tent had been ripped from within. The victims had died 6 to 8 hours after their last meal. Traces of the camp showed that all group members left the campsite on their own, not by force. They were not attacked by indigenous Mansi people nearby. They're not even really nearby. They're hundreds of miles away, but they're the only people closest. Forensic radiation test had shown high doses of radioactive contamination on the clothes of a few victims, which radiation is linked to, like alien craft, right?
Yep, possibly.
So why would they have radioactive components on them in the top of mountains, when they probably have good clothes on that they didn't wash in radioactive material before they went up there? Let's see. Release documents contain no information about the condition of the skiers' internal organs. There were no survivors of the incident. So the final verdict, according to Russian government, was that they died because of compelling natural force. All of them.
Okay, that is quite compelling. I agree. So it's just a mystery. It's hard to. There's not much evidence. We just gotta. They're dead, and there's no one who's gonna tell us what happened because they're all dead.
That's right.
Which, like any good mystery, is the way it usually goes.
Well, right. whenever we invent the time traveling, we'll figure all this stuff out.
Oh yeah, of course. Now we got this one little weird random one here. I just thought it was kind of cool. In 1974, a group of workers in Romania discovered 3 different objects 10 meters deep in a sand trench. 2 of the items were prehistoric elephant bones that have been dated as old as 2.5 million years old.
Whoa.
The 3rd object, however, is an aluminum wedge that was found together with the ancient bones. This discovery has dumbfounded most researchers because aluminum has been difficult to create even in the 19th century. So somehow this like super ancient piece of aluminum exists, and because I guess aluminum it's an alloy. It's not like something that just naturally comes out of the ground. So that's
not
it.
A flat sheet anyway.
Total mystery, man.
So
it's the aluminum wedge of Aoud.
I don't have any information on the story with me, but do you know if it's been like looked under a microscope? Because there's a certain way that aluminum has to be bonded, and apparently, you remember like the Roswell crash? Whenever like some guy said he had like, the original person that went out to investigate the Roswell crash had pieces of metal, and you could crumple it up, and then slowly it would, release itself back out.
Yeah, like there was like it was like super thin, but you couldn't like dent it or anything.
Yeah, that was somebody had some. There was a story that I heard about a scientist who was presented with a small square of that and told to look under the microscope and see what he saw, and then he came out as a whistleblower afterwards. But he was saying that it was like a metal that could not be fabricated right now because of all of the strange components. Like once he ran it through a component tester, whatever those scientific things are.
Yeah, the scientific tester thing.
Yeah, the metals tester dude.
Says it has traces of copper, zinc, lead, cadmium, nickel, and other smaller traces of other elements. But it's 89% aluminum.
Huh.
So
that's pretty crazy.
Aluminum isn't found freely in nature, thus must be manufactured.
That's right.
But it has not been produced until the 1800s. And they say this mysterious piece is at least 11,000 years old. So,
Oh, really? How do they know that? The carbon dating, I guess?
Says geological evidence places it to be.
Oh, so yeah, geological means like the surrounding hills and dirt and crap, I wonder what
but then an oxidized layer coating shows that this artifact is more likely to be around 400 years old, still placing it before the time that aluminum was produced.
Oh, yeah.
But that's obviously much newer. Of course, we want it to be like, I want it to be like 2 million years old.
Yep.
Because I want to believe
aliens, boy.
Yeah, I mean, I almost want to believe in these like civilizations that are more high tech than ours, even that are once on this planet. It's just so far back in the future, but there's like no trace of it anymore. It's just so ancient, and those civilizations like died off, and did all that stuff. So yeah, I didn't want to spend too much time on that little strange hunk of aluminum, but it's kind of weird. Now we got one last one here, and I'm not sure how to pronounce it. I'm just going to say it's called the Tamam Shud case. And now the second A there has a little dash over it, so maybe it's like Tamad, I don't know. Tamad Shud case. So this is in 1984. There was an unidentified man who was just found dead at a beach in Australia. They couldn't identify the man for a while. There was no dental record match. All he had on him was just cigarettes and some change. The autopsy raised suspicion, though, because his spleen was enlarged and his liver was distended, and there was blood in his stomach, which seemed like maybe he had been poisoned. And he had been seen. Apparently, they said prior to him being found dead, he was alive, but people had seen him like slumping over at the beach, which was also suggesting that he had been poisoned. But the weird thing is they searched him, like they did all the tests on the autopsy, and there was no poison found in his system. I guess at least none that they could recognize. So that was in December 1948, but by middle of 1949, 6 months later, like little progress had been made. This is just like a total mystery. Who this guy is, what the heck's going on? Now, at this point, they brought in another expert 6 months later. This guy John Cleland, and he's a professor of pathology at the university there in Australia. And they wanted him to re-examine the whole case, just try to figure out what the heck. So he searches everything and finds this strange final piece of evidence that everybody else had missed. And it's like the weirdest thing. Like inside the waistband of the man's trouser of his pants was a tiny small pocket sewn into there. Like a custom-made little tiny pocket. And inside that pocket was a little tiny piece of paper rolled up. And on that piece of paper, it almost looked like scratch paper, but it contained two words. It said, Tamad Shud. Newspapers misprinted it as Taman Shud, but it's Tamam Shud. And what that is a Persian poetry collection known as the Rubaiyat of Omar Khayyam, which I'm sure is totally mispronounced.
Bless you.
Yeah, Gesundheit. But what this means, Tamam Shud, what it means is it is completed. And it had been torn from the very last page of a copy of the book. Now, what's really weird is nearby in a parking lot, the book is found. It's been tossed into the window of a car. And inside the book, it contains a phone number of a former nurse, along with a strange coded message that nobody could actually solve. So the police tracked down this nurse, and she says she gave that book to a man named Albert Boxall. So they're like, great, they're getting a lead here. Now the problem is, they go and find this guy, Albert Boxall, and he's completely alive still. So it's not their man. And he has the book that the nurse gave him. And they open up the book, and that page is untorn. It's a totally different book. So that's it. That was their dead end. I mean, they thought they were onto something, and it ended up not panning out to anything. It's just totally unsolved. But apparently in 2013, there was like a TV interview done on 60 Minutes. They claimed the former nurse, who had somehow managed to get the police to respect her wishes to conceal her name, that her daughter believed that she was a Soviet spy and had a son with that man. So it's almost like there's this whole like potential that they were like total like double agent, secret spy, like James Bond kind of covert operations. And I guess there's like this secret message tied in this little tiny pocket of these pants.
And if anybody finds it, they're going to find out what happened to me. And that's what he was doing that morning before he went to the beach. He was cutting up the book, and he said, "I'm gonna, she won't know this, but I'm gonna put this in here, and that's how they're gonna find out who I am."
Yeah, it kind of makes sense from like a weird James Bond type angle.
Then on the other side, like, how did that other book turn up at that guy's house with the same words written in the back of it in that same spot, like untorn?
That is very strange too. So there's a lot of just weirdness there. I mean, obviously people could be lying.
They're on different timelines.
I mean, if it is like conspiracy, like espionage, spy stuff, then people know things, and they know what to tell and what not to tell, and who to lie to, possibly.
Yeah.
And that guy is not meant to be found out who he is, dead on the beach. He's probably like nowhere close to who they think he is.
So when did he die? He died like 47 or something?
December 1948.
And they just did a 2013?
Yeah, some kind of 60 Minutes TV interview. So maybe we could actually find that video.
That's pretty hot.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like a lead that came like way later in life. So I guess I'm trying to make sense out of what it says. It almost seems like the daughter of the nurse came out and said that her mom was a spy, Soviet spy.
I see why. Yeah, so much later.
So, yeah.
Maybe she's the daughter of that guy.
Yeah. Now, that was supposed to be our last one, but actually just another one, a real small, kind of weird one popped into my head.
Yeah.
Let me see if I can find out where.
Well, I got one to add, too, that I want people to look at whenever you got this one.
Okay. Yeah, so there's this beach in Seattle.
There's beaches in Seattle?
Yeah, I know. That's the mystery. Is how did the beach get there?
Or was just like walruses in Seattle or something.
And Sasquatch. So
Sasquatch.
It always goes back to Sasquatch. This is actually the same beach where a 600-pound giant Pacific octopus allegedly lives. But no, so the weird thing is that 15 severed feet have washed up along on the shore over the last 7 years.
What?
I mean, it's one thing for a dead body to wash up on the beach, and that's just like, okay, whatever. Yeah. So there's just severed feet randomly over the 7-year course, just washing up on the shore. Just a foot.
I wonder if they know wonder if they're like coming from Japan or like where
the heck, man? Like, no, they don't know. It's just these feet. And it says what does this say? The bones fall apart. It says some of them have shoes on. It says they're not even severed. Some of them are not even purposefully cut off. It's like they're torn.
Ugh. That's the worst.
Yeah, man. What? It's weird. Yeah, and here's they have a picture of one of the shoes, like a New Balance shoe. There's no foot in there anymore though.
Balance.
But 15 now. So that's the ones that have been found. There could be more feet. There's got to be a joke in there somewhere.
Yeah, the person who's missing their leg is not balanced anymore.
They probably like that song Footloose. And the movie.
Kick off your Sunday shoes.
Wasn't that? Yeah, kick off your Sunday shoes. Who was that? Kevin Bacon?
He's walking around the streets. They call him hip hop.
Hip hop. There you go. There you go. Man, there's so many jokes you could make out of this.
Eileen.
Oh, yeah, for Eileen. Oh, no. Eileen. Our listeners haven't really ever gotten a taste of my singing yet.
Oh, God, please.
From time to time, I might break into song. But I just did a minute ago there. But we'll see how it goes. Okay, so what was the weird one you were bringing up?
Recent story, which some people may have already heard of. I don't think there's any kind of TV show about it, but this, this was a pretty big thing. Michael Hastings was a reporter who contributed to a lot of different magazines and publications like the Rolling Stone and the Guardian. He was doing a expose behind the scenes. Actually, he came out with a story early in his career about the General Stanley McChrystal having affairs, I think, and that's what he got him taken off the head of the war on Iraq.
Okay.
And so Michael Hastings is like instantly famous, like, everyone's following him, and he was completely anti-government. Every person that he talked to, like all of his friends were people that, like Jeremy Scahill, who has done Dirty Wars, such things like that. He started feeling like the government was following him.
Okay.
Started telling people that there was black helicopters flying over his house too many times, much more than any normal person would have to. There was a base nearby, but they were specifically flying over his house for durations.
Kind of like on Goodfellas.
Yeah. So some of his friends were saying he was being really cagey over the phone. He had laptops and hard drives and things like that were off grid, so they weren't connected to the internet, and a lot of the data was stored that couldn't be accessed without an internet connection, things like that. So he was doing a FBI story that he had told others. And I'm trying to find the name of some military person that was high up. And anybody can go and check out this story online. I'm reading a story about from the New Yorker that investigated Michael Hastings' death, which is and it's pretty good. It's very in depth. It's 7 internet pages long, which means it's super long. Anyways, he started getting. He was saying that people were breaking into his house, stealing things. One night, very close to then, he had told people that the CIA was going to come see them, or the FBI was going to come see them and investigate them. And then that night, his C250 Mercedes Coupe was going like 100 miles an hour in downtown LA and crashed into a palm tree, and his car exploded. The engine of the car was shot out of it 30 yards away. So if you see pictures of that, it looks like an engine by itself, just like completely intact.
Wow.
That went way down the road. The car exploded.
High speed action there.
It's hard to do. I mean, if you think about that, it has to come like off its blocks, out of the transmission link, and then fly down the road more.
And it happened at 4:20 a.m.
That's right. They think that's symbolic as well.
Of course, he was smoking a blunt.
Well, it's a famous time, like for police action as well.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
311.
420. That used to be. I mean, like back in the 80s and 90s, that used to be the drug code.
Yeah.
And then people started catching on to that, and it became famous. And then like almost everyone in the nation, like all the police places in the nation, changed 420 to mean something else.
How about 187?
That too. They changed that too because the rap people in raps.
Oh yeah.
So now it's like 180. Well, now it's like 182 or something.
Ice-T.
Yeah. Anyway, so his car explodes. He dies, and everyone thinks that the government hacked into his Mercedes. This is one of the models of Mercedes that you can remotely control, and I'm not quite sure how that's done, but later on, an FBI agent, not an FBI agent, but like a head of the FBI, was saying that his death looked like a car hack, and like nobody was thinking about car hacking, and then this FBI head of the FBI says it out loud, and so everybody starts looking into it, and it turns out, yes, you can hack into a Mercedes, and yes, you can press the accelerator down and make it go as fast as possible. Now, there was a man sitting in a parking lot eating dinner, apparently, doing the night shift. And he was sitting in the parking lot. He had a dash cam in his car, and it saw the Mercedes go by. And when you watch it go by, it's completely dead in the city. Like you can see down the street that he's pointing, and there's a cross street right where he's eating. And there's no movement. Nobody's out on the roads or anything. And all of a sudden, you just see this Mercedes class go like 100 miles an hour by, just flying, absolutely flying. And, it crashes on, maybe half a mile down the street. And then, the streets are flat. And so he pulls out of the parking lot and turns down the road. And you can see the car you don't even see the car. It's just a huge ball of fire, like down a little ways. And he starts driving towards it and stops about halfway. He doesn't want to get any closer to it. But, dash cams have like a little fisheye. So who knows how close he really was. But you can pretty much tell that he died as soon as he hit that tree. There was no living in that accident. And
that's so,
oh my God. I mean, there's like still embedded pieces in the palm tree of the car.
Wow. There's a Lamborghini or Mercedes.
There's a Mercedes. Yeah, it's one of those little 4-doors. It's a C-Class, so it's not.
Yeah, but I mean, there's a Nazi connection here, man. Yep. Mercedes is Nazi, and so there's clearly some Nazi connection. No, I'm just joking.
Absolutely.
That's the best I can come up with. It's the Nazis, man. They never went away.
Well, you know what? If we were so concerned about the communists, we wouldn't allow their cars in our country.
It's true.
But
so that's a weird one. We'll never know. It was possibly cover up, possibly sabotage, some kind of. Or there's, maybe he was just really drunk and just decided to go crazy and killed himself. It's
and the reason that nobody will ever know because he had like taken out his phone and email. And he didn't use them for like the last 3 days. Just crazy stuff. Oh, what he did was he sent an ominous email to everyone that he knew, saying that the FBI was following him, and that he was. That email hasn't been made public as far as I can find. Nobody has actually released it, but he could have been going. He could have been going crazy.
Sure. Which is what they claim usually.
Yeah, of course.
Especially if it's the MK Ultra, project.
But so look up that New York Magazine story. Michael Hastings is from 11/2013.
Okay.
Super in depth, and I just suggest everyone go take a look at it. It's a really crazy mystery.
That's actually the website I got pulled up right now.
Nice.
Yeah. Okay, so those are the strange mysteries that we had come up with for this week's episode.
A lot of things going on there, but a lot of stuff we have to go check out. We'll have some good reading material and TV material for the next week or so until our next podcast.
That's right. That's what it's all about. Let's see. Oh,
Yes.
you had texted me about how you wanted to mention something about the Unbelievable podcast.
Did I now? I love the Unbelievable podcast.
Yeah, the Unbelievable podcast. That's one we like. They're kind of similar to some of the stuff we talk about. They're a little more professional in their presentation. They do a really good job.
So I think the people that the guy, I can't remember his name right now, but the guy that runs that right now, he's like a comedian, and so they're cynical, but they know. I mean, they really do know a lot about UFOs and strange happenings.
Oh yeah, they know all the information. It's just it's a big joke. It's all very entertaining.
It's pretty fun.
But they'll present, they'll present a lot of crazy stuff that you can go research on your own. And they do a poll every week,
Yeah, this week's episode was about Phil Schneider, and a lot of people don't know much about Phil Schneider, but because he came and went within like 2 years, but he was killed, or supposedly killed. The coroner says that he died from suicide. But Phil Schneider was a contractor for the United States government and was supposedly building underground bases. And he was in a project where he was digging Dulce underground base in Colorado, maybe? I think that's in Colorado. And he came upon a cavity in the earth where there were gray aliens, and apparently the elevator that they had used to get down there, he was still standing he's standing near it, and him and a Green Beret that was with him, they were both doing this exploration of the cavity that they just came into, and he pulled out a gun and he shot 2 gray aliens. One of the gray aliens waved his hand in front of his chest and then split Phil Schneider open like a fish.
Yes, like a fish.
And the Unbelievable podcast makes fun of him for many, many episodes.
Doesn't he also he loses some fingers and something about something happens to his penis.
Yeah, it's split open like a hot dog or something like that.
Yeah.
Like a hot dog bun. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so
that's an interesting episode. And they're actually playing actual recordings of Phil Schneider talking about this stuff. So that's what's they kind of keep going back and forth, doing commentary on his presentation.
There's a lot of information on Phil Schneider's story because it was so off the wall. But in 1996, he died under mysterious circumstances. There's a lot of YouTube videos. I watched a couple of them, and the one thing that stands out pretty clearly is that you will never be able to prove or disprove his claims,
right?
Ever. Like I don't think you'll ever be able to get to Dulce #1, the 7 layers of Dulce #2, and then underground of under Dulce, where a supposed underground railroad is that transports people and the government to specific sites in the United States under black budgets. So just watch any of those on Phil Schneider, and then check out the Unbelievable podcast as well. They no solicitation there. We just love their podcast.
Yeah, it's very entertaining.
Really look for it every week. It's pretty fun.
And the Mark Maron WTF podcast is another one that I like.
Yeah, This American Life. What else are we?
This American Life. I like the Internet History podcast. That guy's been doing a good job documenting the revolution of the internet and all the technologies and people that have been key players in that maneuver. As were Dookie Royale and myself when we were web designers once upon a time.
This is correct.
That's
yeah,
right.
there's a good one out there that I can't find on iTunes or on Stitcher or anything like that, but it's called Skeptico, and it was a guy that was a hard skeptic for a very long time about spiritual realm. He's still skeptic about religion, but he's come around to near-death experiences, out-of-body experiences, after-death experiences, things like that. So that Skeptico is really good. And he interviews a lot of people, and he really gets in their faces about things. Like, how can you say that when you can't prove things? Stuff like that. And I like to listen to it. Being on an undecided, both sides of the fence kind of person.
Yeah. Freeman TV is another good one. He's definitely very fundamental in sort of his beliefs and things, but he calls it the Freeman perspective, and that's exactly what it is you get his perspective on how he sees the world and reality, and it's informative and entertaining.
Did he write a book or like do a documentary on like the logos of corporations or something?
Yeah, he has a lot of good stuff on the corporate logos.
About how they're all Illuminati. They're all like
connected. Yeah, they're all Illuminati symbols, ancient Luciferian mind control, black magic. Another thing he did, which I was really impressed with, is he showed how he believes Obama is actually a clone of the Pharaoh Akhenaten.
Yeah, and that was really good too.
It was really good because like Akhenaten's wife and kids has a wife and 2 daughters, and they all look the same. And he goes into how that's why they mummified these pharaohs, is so that later their DNA would be intact to be recloned. So I mean, I love that. That's a brilliant theory.
And it just turns out that we can like clone from genetics, like within the they might have been able to do it in the 50s.
Yeah, I'm really impressed with him on that, respect. But he's got an interesting show. That's about it. Otherwise, my week was pretty standard.
So I'm working on other podcasts. We got some guests coming up. We're going to try to do this guest thing on our podcast. Working on the people getting by. I have got one person that's going to join, and that'll be announced when we do it, I guess.
That's right.
But a pal that I've known for a little while, and that's coming up. So look for that. We might be doing that recording soon.
Yeah, and I got I got a couple other people that want to just be on for I don't know,
like buddies.
Yeah, just kind of
talk about what we're talking about.
Yeah, well, I got people who want to be on, and then I got people who I want them to be on.
They won't be on.
And they keep coming up with all these great ideas and having these great phone conversations with me. And then I'm like, all right, well, coming on the podcast. And they're like, oh, no. I don't want to do all that. So it's like, well, so anyway, we'll figure it out.
Well, maybe you can just do a side recording with them, just you and them, not in a live format.
Or to be make them even more calm, and I'll just secretly record them as we talk.
There you go.
And then I'll be like, boom, that's going on the podcast. What?
Gotcha,
sucker. And one of our listeners, I think, knows it's a he, and I think he knows I'm talking about him. So when you're hearing this, I know I'm talking to you, buddy. So, I guess that's about it. That's the Unsolved Mystery Podcast Special.
If you hung around to the end, we really appreciate it. We have, of course, we are online pretty much everywhere except for that shitty site Tumblr. We don't do that shit.
No.
Fuck Tumblr. You know what else? Snapchat. Fuck Snapchat.
Well, you got teenage daughters, man. Of course you don't like Snapchat.
This shit is stupid. But we're on just email. We have qtheapodcast@gmail.com. We are on Facebook, Q the A, and Twitter @Q the A podcast.
That's right.
give us an email, favorite our tweets, visit us on Facebook, like our page.
Yeah, like us, or just subscribe to the podcast. But of course, if you're hearing this, you probably already are. So
yeah, man. Thank you.
And then the other people say they want to, and they're like, what is a podcast? How do I subscribe to that? And to you people, I say, Google search that podcast, how to download a podcast or subscribe to a podcast.
Well, I use a app called Stitcher. Makes it easy. You just search for it, and then you put it in your feed, and it downloads automatically every week.
Hey, so Coral Castle is up to 43 downloads.
Oh,
43, but still our number one episode is still the Bohemian Grove with a total of 72. But Scientology is one behind at 71. The one with the terrible echo.
So stats are a little. We have to add them up though, because we have Stitcher. I found out downloads our episode once and then recodes it for a lower bit rate.
Oh,
so it's not actually feeding from our site.
Weird.
When I went and looked at Stitcher, we had somewhere in the range of 100 downloads from there.
Oh, total.
And then YouTube alone, somewhere around 450 total. So I mean, we're over 1,000 at this point.
That's right. What?
Number 9, top of the charts.
Oh yeah. One of these days when you search for us, we'll be in like the top.
It's probably the same Chinese guy like accidentally hitting our button over and over and over.
Yeah, for real, man. I mean, definitely one of them is me.
I took mine off of the automatic downloads, so I'm not there anymore.
You're not tainting our information.
Nay.
All right. Well, that's about enough for that boring internal business marketing discussion about our podcast stats.
This is true.
I thought you guys might want to listen in on some of the discussion that Dookie Royale and I have.
Join us next week. The planned show is not planned, so just tune in and find out what we're going to do.
Planned show is not planned. Yeah, we have no idea what we're doing.
Nope.
This week actually we kind of cobbled it together like last minute, and I think it worked out okay.
We did.
I think it was very intriguing.
Well, I mean that's all the information that we've been looking at and talking about anyway for the last whatever years. You know,
that's true.
We just had to kind of refresh our memories.
Yeah, we're just trying to. I mean, a lot of this podcast is. I'm just really down to doing it so that I can kind of, like when I'm old, I can go back and just go through like. It's almost like a diary.
Like how dumb we were. Look how dumb I was when I was 30, 33, 35.
Yeah. We once were 35. We wish we were 35.
This is true.
Never again. But all right, Dookie Royale. Is that it?
Yes, Eon. Let's call it a night.
Dookie Royale.
Good night.
Good night, guys. We'll see y'all next week.
Goodbye.